The first question is, can socialism even work? Ludwig von Mises argued it couldn't. Under capitalism, the price system ensures that resources are directed towards the most urgently felt consumer demand. If there is a significant increase in the demand for flour, for example, the price of flour will go up, and entrepreneurs who respond to this increased demand will make profits. With the abolition of private ownership of the means of production, there is no mechanism in place to ensure that changes in consumer demands are met by the redirection of resources towards them. Instead, it is the decision of planners and bureaucrats which dictate where resources are allocated and in what quantity. The role of the entrepreneur in the economy is simply too complex to be replaced or replicated by a central planner. Instead of having a mechanism in place, such as the price system, to ensure that the aforementioned increase in the demand for flour is met, we have to simply hope that the government planners in charge somehow divine that increased need for flour and then direct resources in sufficient quantity as to satisfy that demand. This frankly requires of the planners omniscience. So that's my argument in opposition to communism, and here's my argument in favor of capitalism. Capitalism is good for the poor. Historically, we have seen no societies which have had the radical increases in the standard of living for the poor like those which have been the most laissez-faire. Two examples include Hong Kong and Botswana. Botswana was the world's fastest growing economy for several decades, following its independence from Britain in 1966. What did its government do differently from every other African nation? It kept taxes low, it didn't nationalize any businesses, it avoided the corruption which results from profligate spending, and it limited military expenditures. Per capita income skyrocketed in Botswana from $80 a year in 1966 to over $6,000 a year in 2002. You see a similar phenomena in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a bastion of laissez-faire capitalism. It wasn't until 2010 that they had a minimum wage, for example. Now, Hong Kong wasn't an anarcho-capitalist society. It had a government, but it was a minimal one. After World War II, there were no controls on prices, wages, or imports, low and simple taxes, zero tariffs, and a stable legal environment. Public spending was a paltry 13 to 19% of GDP. Instead of borrowing heavily to finance spending projects, Hong Kong ran a budget surplus for 32 of the years between 1948 and 1985. During the same time period, per capita income skyrocketed from $180 per annum to $6,000 per annum. So these two examples demonstrate how laissez-faire economies benefit the poor.